Hello? Hi, welcome. I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. I'm Natasha Parby, and I'm the president of the Rainier Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank the candidates for attending tonight and the audience for watching. One of the reasons why we host this forum is because we want to give the candidates an opportunity to meet we want to give our members an opportunity to meet the candidates, and as well as to be able to share the mission of what the Rainier Chamber of Commerce does, as well as the Port of Columbia County. Both have a similar mission, and that is to be economic drivers. When you have a mix of large industrial business, retail, and commercial, it creates a strong economic vitality within a community. I'd like to thank Claire Catt, the director of United Way, for being our MC this evening. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this meeting over to her. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Natasha. What a beautiful evening to be here together. Thank you so much to the candidates and hopefully to the audience, either watching now or will be watching live later. This is a great way to learn about people who make really important decisions about our community, and what a wonderful way to give back to our community in voting and being educated voters. So candidates, let's go over our ground rules tonight. For each segment, you'll each have 3 minutes to answer those questions. As we discussed before, Natasha's going to be our timekeeper. At 2 minutes, she'll show you a yellow card. And at 3 minutes, she'll put up the pink card because she didn't have any red. So pretend like it's a red light. And that means that you have a time limit on speaking. If you continue speaking past 3 minutes, we will go ahead and need to mute you just so we can stay on time and on task tonight. I'll be asking the questions in a rotating style, random and rotating. And please mute yourself when the other candidates are answering questions. For the audience out there, Rainier Chamber of Commerce is a membership-driven organization. We will reserve the right to delete any comments that seemed inappropriate during the forum from our Facebook page or after the forum. So let's keep it appropriate, and you can always contact us at the Rainier Chamber of Commerce website if you're interested in learning more about the Rainier Chamber of Commerce. So candidates, let's start with introductions. You'll have 3 minutes each to go ahead and introduce yourself. Give us an intro of why you and why now for Port of Columbia County. And I'm going to ask Robert to answer first. Robert, 3 minutes for an introduction. Robert, are you with us? Are you wanting to give your introduction?
Okay, I did my best work with the mute button pushed. My name is Robert Kaiser. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I live in Clatskanie. I am a retired firefighter from here. I own a small business now. I live here with my wife, and I have a couple grown children in the community as well. So my interest in the port started shortly after I got out of high school. But when I graduated high school many years ago, there wasn't much job prospects. The timber industry was in decline, and the local paper mill had come to the school, even to the job fair, and said, don't plan on working with us. We're not hiring. And it occurred to me why we didn't have more local jobs, why everybody I knew had to either move away or commute to have a good family wage job. I began attending port meetings and becoming active with economic development. So I was appointed to the Port Commission in approximately 2002, I think, and I've served mostly since then, a couple-year break. And I have found it very rewarding. Things take longer than you hope, but I think we've been able to not only recruit some new industry to the county, but also retain some that went on some hard times in 2008 and again a few years ago. So I'm here to try to get family wage jobs for folks in Columbia County. I'm not here to try to make the county grow or be the next Multnomah County. I think it's beautiful here. I recreate here with my family. I like to hunt, fish, boat. So it's important that we have good family wage jobs and a nice, clean, friendly place to live. And I love it here. I've stayed here my whole life, and I try to do what I can to keep it nice.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Robert. Thanks. And Brian, 3 minutes, an introduction of yourself and why you for Port.
Thanks, Claire and Natasha, for this opportunity to talk to the membership of your chamber as well as the community. My name is Brian Fawcett. I'm a lifelong Columbia County resident. I grew up in St. Helens, went to St. Helens High School and graduated, and then went to Oregon State University to get my Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. I now live in Prescott with my wife, Megan, and my 2 stepsons, an avid fisherman and outdoorsman. I grew up on the Columbia River, recreating, boating, fishing, you name it. Still continue to do that to this day with Megan and the boys. We like to fish, kayak, hike, anything outdoors. So recreation is a huge part of my life. Over the years, I've seen kind of the highs and lows of Columbia County and what the impacts on our community and our way of life have been. And it's no secret that a large portion of our residents must commute out of the county for work these days. That robs families of time together. It limits availability to be involved in community organizations, civic organizations, those sorts of things. And it removes money from our local economy, from the small businesses and other businesses. And that's tough. I'm fortunate to work locally. I work at Clatskanie IPUD as the Economic Development Manager. I'm a professional engineer. So I have experience working at a public entity that's somewhat similar to the port and organization. I oversee commercial industrial projects, community enhancement projects like broadband expansion, and we're looking to help out in other ways, downtown revitalization, help increase housing, those sorts of things. I also educate our customers on the benefits of electric vehicle adoption and help them with energy efficiency upgrades. Working locally has given me the opportunity to be involved in a lot of organizations. The Rainier Chamber of Commerce, great organization hosting this event, Clatskanie and Columbia County Planning Commissions, the Hope of Rainier Food Bank, the Port of Columbia County Scappoose Bay Marine Park Advisory Committee. All of that experience has given me a lot of insight into the local economy, the port, and sort of what makes business successful in our county. I'm committed to moving the economy in the right direction. That still protects and enhances our natural beauty that many of us use. I'm committed to bringing more living wage jobs to Columbia County and increasing access to recreation. Finally, I'm by no means a political person. This is a nonpartisan position. I think solutions to our economic issues come from folks invested in our communities. They come from those that can set aside political ideals and find solutions that benefit all. And I look forward to bringing that approach to the Port Commission.
Thanks, Brian. And Sabbath, please share with us a little bit about yourself and why you for Port. 3 minutes.
Absolutely. My name is Sabbath Rain. I live here in Scappoose. When I first moved to Columbia County, I moved to Warren, where I lived with my older brother. I was just a teenager when I moved here. And one of the things that I fell in love with about Columbia County was how beautiful it was here. When I moved, a lot of folks thought when I said I'm moving to Oregon, they said, "Oh, are you moving to Portland?" And I said, "No, I'm moving to Warren." Nobody had any idea where Warren was or what Warren was. But the reason I've stayed here now 5 years later is because I think this community is beautiful, not only naturally, but I love the people here. I fell in love with my neighbors. I was welcomed so warmly by the folks in my town, and I will never leave this place. And that's why I'm running for Port, because as a young person who has faced 2 of the worst economic crises this country has faced in the last 100 years, I'm well aware of what it's like to look down the barrel of your career, understanding that you have incurred now however much student debt, and you will likely be commuting several hours to a job that barely affords you to live in the place that you've chosen. And I would like to make sure that the young people who are graduating high school now at this time and who are looking at university or trade school have a place to work here in Columbia County. But I think what so many people fail to realize about the economy is that it is not an either-or situation. It is not an either-or situation of keeping in mind our environmental sustainability and creating robust and diverse jobs. I assert that it is possible to do both. And that's why I'm running for this position, because I think that I have the perspective as a young person to create economic growth with sustainability in mind. What good is creating X number of jobs if those jobs might be in an industry that's not around in 10 or 15 years? My intention with the port is to create jobs that will give us longevity and that will offer economic revitalization to our communities. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sabbath. I'm going to drop our first question in the chat, and you'll have to excuse me. It's kind of a long one. It's a doozy. So I'll try to spit it out perfectly, but I probably won't be. And for this question, we'll go in reverse order. So it will be Sabbath first, and then Brian, and then Robert. So Sabbath, as a port commissioner, the Port of Columbia County participates in navigational servitude, supporting navigation projects such as dredging, channel marking, anchorage improvements, and river use studies. The Port of Columbia County participates in numerous organizations such as the Association of Pacific Ports, Pacific Northwest Waterways Association, Oregon Public Ports Association, and others who are strong advocates for a marine highway system that extends to Lewiston, Idaho. There are increasing calls to remove the hydroelectric and navigation dams on the Snake River. What is your position on preserving the marine highway system as it functions today?
Yes, thank you so much. So when I received the questions in advance, as all candidates did, I was a little perplexed about this question because the Port of Columbia County does not manage any hydroelectric dams, nor would those be an option really for our county due to recreation, indigenous, and other environmental concerns. However, to answer your question, I absolutely would support the removal of those dams along the Snake River, as they are both not advantageous economically, and they are not great for the environment. We have a really robust community of hunters and fishers here in Columbia County, as does the community of Lewiston, Idaho, along the Snake River. And those communities are being disrupted by these dams, and these dams disrupting the migration of salmon. So I would absolutely support removing those 4 dams. And I think that the jobs lost in the maintenance of those dams would be made up by the jobs created with a better marine highway system. So this is something that I would support, but like I said, this is not something that's in the purview of the Port of Columbia County at the time.
Thank you, Sabbath. Brian, would you like me to reread the doozy of a question, or you have it?
Part of me just wants to give you a bad time and make you reread it, but I won't. I won't do that to you. So, as an electrical utility employee, a recreational fisherman, and a port candidate, I would say I definitely have a lot of interest in the removal of the dams and what that means for the environment, our economy, and all that. And there's a lot of pros and cons of doing that. The dams, as they sit, provide low-cost carbon-free power to the Pacific Northwest. And they support heavily intermittent renewable resources like solar and wind. They also support efficient navigational access to and from Lewiston. There's a huge agricultural business of goods coming to, down the river, and, ports have the ability to go up the river as well as down the river. So that does affect the Port of Columbia County some too. It keeps thousands of trucks off the highway, and that has the effect of lowering carbon emissions. It's a much more efficient way to transport goods rather than using trucks. On the flip side, as a fisherman, I definitely understand the impacts of the dams on salmon and steelhead. I travel to Idaho, to Lewiston every year to fish for the iconic Clearwater River steelhead. They're amazing, amazing fish. It's an amazing area. I absolutely love it out there. And while BPA and others have invested heavily in fish passage and barging smolts downstream, hatcheries, the overall fish numbers have still declined. Those same declines, however, can be seen up and down the West Coast. There's a river to the north of us, the Fraser River in Canada, that is similar to the Columbia. It's a huge river system. And it is the only thing that is really different is that it is undammed. And it's still seeing the same increase or same decreases over time. So as a fisherman, I've seen the science. It shows that ocean conditions, predation by seals and sea lions and cormorants and others are really the main factors in declining fish runs. Removing dams definitely would help. It would improve smolt, the number of smolts getting downstream to the ocean, but there are greater threats. And what sort of economic and environmental impact are we willing to risk for that? Representative Simpson of Idaho proposed a $33 billion settlement to remove the dams and mitigate the harm to those who use the navigational waterway and other things. So it's encouraging to see the large amount of money that would take to make that happen. Many feel this is still not enough, and it would result in increased carbon emissions, at least in the short term, until we can get batteries and large scale batteries, as well as electric semi trucks, which are many years out. So for those reasons, at this time, I am against the dam removal until we can find a better way to mitigate the effects on our environment and the economy.
Thank you, Brian. Robert, you're up. And this was in relationship to what is your position on preserving the marine highway system as it functions today? Would you like me to read that entire question?
Would not. No, I would be happy to answer though. Thank you. As a sitting commissioner, I've been back with the Pacific Northwest Waterways Association, a lobbying association that the users of the Columbia River belong to, and sat in quite a few meetings discussing the removal of the upriver dams. And in those meetings are the ports of Lewiston and Clarkston and some of the upriver Washington ports. And I would not support the removal of those dams until those ports are convinced that flood control, navigation, and energy issues have been resolved. I think with the green energy, there's a little bit of hope and faith that I don't share with them that it will be soon. It is the direction we need to go, certainly, but it needs to be very solid. We need to be sure that we have the flood control, the river management handled. And then at some point, they are going to need to come out. They're old, they're an old technology, and I'm sure we're headed that way, but I'm not a supporter of that until those ports themselves are convinced it would be a good idea.
Great, thank you each for your insights and response. I'll put the second question in the chat now if you'd like to reread it. For this question, we'll go in the order of Brian, and then Robert, and then Sabbath. Question 2, and Brian will be up first. Portland metro area traffic congestion has worsened over the past decade to the point of travelers and freight are diverting off of the I-5 corridor in Washington to travel the Highway 30 corridor in Columbia County. For the port to champion a new bridge crossing the Columbia River near St. Helens that would improve regional traffic flow while at the same time open Columbia County up to new opportunity for growth and diversify local economy. Would you support such an effort? Why? And I'm going to add, or why not? And Brian, you're up.
I told you that was going to happen. I wasn't going to unmute right away. So we obviously all share in the pain of traffic, whether you're in Scappoose, St. Helens, or Rainier, we all deal with it. And it's definitely caused by folks commuting through our county, which is not necessarily bad for business, but when it hampers our ability to move between one community and another or inside those communities, that's definitely something we need to take a look at fixing. It's also not helped by the fact that we have a lot of people commuting out of the county for work and then back in. And as a port commissioner, I'd absolutely support looking into this project. It would really be championed by ODOT and WashDOT, and they would be the ones looking to find solutions. I know there's a long discussed proposal of connecting 26 down the Cornelius Pass route to Highway 30, and then eventually across the river near St. Helens over to I-5. That could definitely alleviate issues. It costs a ton of money and potentially result in huge growth. There's huge growth is not necessarily what we're looking for. I think sustained growth over time would be better. So we would need to be diligent in kind of looking into how it's going to affect our community and how it's going to impact us, and decide at that moment if we're prepared for that type of growth, and do the citizens desire that type of growth. So there's definitely pros and cons to it. I'm all about projects that bring economic vitality, and I would support it if it was determined to be right for our county, and if it would enhance the livability of our communities.
Thanks, Brian. Robert, I am going to start repeating the question so those listeners that might be tuning in mid-sentence know what we're talking about. So the question 2 that's going to Robert next is, Portland metro area traffic congestion has worsened over the past decade to the point of travelers and freight who are diverting off of the I-5 corridor onto Highway 30 in Columbia County. The Columbia Crossing project has been hopelessly mired in politics and red tape. If there were opportunities for the port to champion a new bridge crossing at the a new bridge crossing the Columbia River near St. Helens that would improve regional traffic flow, while at the same time opening Columbia County up to new opportunities for growth and diversify the local economy, would you support an effort? Why or why not?
I'm not muted. Good. I would be highly skeptical of such a project just because I think it also would become mired in politics. It'd be obviously extremely expensive. But my test would be whether we should support it or not. Is there a benefit to current Columbia County citizens? I'm a little skeptical whether putting a bridge into I-5 away from a metro area, this would be west of Vancouver, is going to benefit our businesses as much as just bring more homeowners and more traffic through the county. And I would be skeptical. The drawings I've seen take up a lot of land. You got river issues. We've talked about dam removal. Well, you're going to be putting things in the river clearly, and there'll be navigation challenges and height restrictions. And I've seen the congestion, and it is definitely real. Rainier suffers terribly under it, as Scappoose has for years. I used to think the best way to solve that, I still believe, is to make enough family wage jobs that folks don't have to commute. But the issue of people passing through the county, I'm not sure what the resolution is, except hopefully improve the access to the Lewis and Clark Bridge and do some more lane widening. But we can't tell people where to drive. But passing through the county is a very little benefit to us. We have the same issue in Clatskanie on a sunny weekend with folks going to the coast. I was at the coast a few months ago, and the traffic congestion is absolutely horrible. So again, I would be wary of just trying to put more cars here for the sake of more cars. It would have to benefit the residents and our businesses. I agree with Brian's statement that slow, sustained growth is much better for Columbia County than a large influx of people. I would be skeptical.
Thank you, Robert. Sabbath, I know you have it, but just in case somebody's tuning in, question 2 was Portland metro area traffic congestion has worsened over the past decade to the point of travelers and freight are diverting off of the I-5 corridor in Washington to travel Highway 30 corridor in Columbia County. The Columbia Crossing project has been hopelessly mired in politics and red tape. If there were opportunities for the port to champion a new bridge crossing on the Columbia River near St. Helens that would improve regional traffic flow, while at the same time open Columbia County up to new opportunity for growth and diversify the local economy, would you support such an effort? Why or why not?
I certainly would support looking into this and commissioning a study, asking the citizens of Columbia County if this is something they would be interested in. My two main concerns with this are that it might not be feasible for our environmental and marine traffic, given the height restrictions, as well as the large amount of land it would take to construct such a bridge. I anticipate that would cut into some existing recreational sites or natural sites that we have right now, and I think that's something the citizens of Columbia County might be concerned about. I do, however, live in Scappoose, and I see firsthand every single day the issues that we have with traffic congestion, and I think that there are a number of actions that could be taken by the port as well as by the county at large to mitigate these. I know that the port recently looked into doing a rail study on what it would take to have commuter rail lines, and I think that would be a wonderful way to relieve congestion for our citizens, while also having a relatively low environmental impact that wouldn't affect our land use very much. I would also support looking into or commissioning a study on what it would mean for our citizens to have something like a ferry or something of that nature that would allow citizens of Columbia County who work in Washington, be it Longview, Kelso, all the way down to Vancouver, so they had some option that didn't involve them driving all the way up to Clatskanie or all the way down to Portland in order to cross the river. I also think that there is no conversation about traffic congestion here in Columbia County without the conversation about a robust public transit system, because Columbia County is on the precipice of growth. And if we want that growth to be sustainable and to be equitable for the citizens of Columbia County that already live here, then I think we need to talk about long-term solutions to our traffic issue. And I think one of those solutions could be a robust public transit system that would allow folks who live in North County to commute to South County, folks who live in South County to commute to our new industrial sites in North County, as well as folks from all over the county to commute into Portland for their job.
Thank you each so much. Great insight and perspective. We're on to our last question, and this will be in the order of Robert, and then Brian, and then Sabbath. And for this question, this is my favorite question because it really opens up the lens a little bit to not a specific topic, but more of your vision for the port, especially in the work of in the communities of Rainier and Clatskanie County. So question 3, and it's going to Robert first. What is your vision for the future of the Port of Columbia County with a focus on Rainier and Clatskanie County? Are there past issues that need to be overcame to achieve this vision?
Are there past issues? We'll start with that. There have been, of course, the rail has been a challenge for Rainier. And I'm hoping the A Street improvements being complete, they look beautiful. I wish the virus would go away so we could enjoy them more. But I'm hoping that will help alleviate some of the rail issues. I was checking earlier when I saw these questions, and it looks like between USG and Teven Brothers, they run about 20,000 rail cars out a year. And that should be roughly about 80,000 semis that are not on the road supporting those jobs. So having a robust rail and those improvements made in Rainier have been a huge help. There's more to do, and the port can support rail improvements all the way throughout Columbia County. There's issues in St. Helens that especially need resolved. Scappoose is working on some separations there, and we certainly would be a part of that and help support it and have an obligation to, I think. But supporting a robust rail helps. I think there's more room for development in Rainier. The port has been active when Foss announced they were closed. We always kept in touch with Foss, but when they announced they were closed, we considered even buying that if we could develop it, but a buyer has come forward, and we are in touch with them to see what we can do to support them. One of the things I was critical of the port when I first came on was that they focused on all the development on port-owned property, which does make a better financial return, but we're about jobs. And if we can help the folks in the old Foss building, if we can help the Teven Brothers operation or USG, we would do it. And that's what we're here for, is to support jobs. The same at Port Westward, if we can, which we own some of, but not all. If we can support those folks and keep those jobs and maybe even add to those nice family wage jobs, that's what we'll do. We're actively engaged looking for industrial type property in Rainier. We get offered a lot of commercial property, but the port is steered away from commercial, picking winners and losers in commercial businesses and focus more on industrial, where there's a high tax base and good family wage jobs. So those are challenges, but we're always looking. And I think we're well engaged with the city, work well with them. I'm excited to see what the A Street project does once the economy opens up, and we're in.
Thank you, Robert. Brian, what's your vision for the future of the Port of Columbia County with a focus on Rainier and Clatskanie County? Are there past issues that need overcoming to achieve that vision?
My vision for the port is really centered around job creation, business growth, and increasing access to recreation while taking care of our natural environment, the river, the forests, the lakes, those sorts of things. And to do that, we need to continue and enhance the port's current marketing efforts to attract new businesses. It's a pretty competitive environment. We need to leverage partnerships with CSEC, Colpack, Business Oregon, and other economic development agencies to look for projects that are the right fit for our county. We need to partner with local governments, chambers, and existing businesses to encourage downtown revitalization, bring broadband to all citizens, and expand recreational opportunities. There's an economic development philosophy called placemaking, and it's really about doing all those things to make our communities even more attractive to developers and businesses looking to relocate. And I think there's an opportunity there in Columbia County to do that. Moving forward, I think the port has done a great job rebranding to the Port of Columbia County rather than the Port of St. Helens. Brings a better representation of the whole county, of the whole district. The port can continue to focus on transparency. I think they've done a great job of that through the pandemic. We've all had to kind of adjust and do things differently, and the port has done a good job. I think there's been more access to the meetings and opportunities for public input. However, as we get back to normal life, and maybe even before that, I've talked to several commissioners about this and citizens, and I think a major change that needs to happen, and I would be willing to champion this, is that we need to move the Port Commission meetings to 6 p.m. or sometime after the workday, 5:36, 6:30, whatever, to make it more accessible to the citizens of our communities. I think that's really important. I'm really fortunate to be able to attend the meetings, but we all know a lot of our community commutes out of town. They're not going to be able to attend a meeting at 10:30 a.m. And I just think that's wrong. I want people to be civically engaged, and I think that's the first step in doing that.
Thank you, Brian. Sabbath, what is your vision for the future of the Port of Columbia County with a focus on Rainier and Clatskanie? Are there past issues that need overcoming to achieve that vision?
Absolutely. So my vision for the Port of Columbia County and Columbia County as a whole, especially Rainier and Clatskanie, is a county that is anticipating the growth that is coming our way, and a county government who is meeting those ever-changing needs before they become crises. And so I know that one of the things right now that is really going to be a struggle in Rainier and Clatskanie as we expand those industrial and agricultural areas up at Port Westward is housing. There are going to be so many people now employed up there, and in order to relieve road traffic through those very narrow corridors through Rainier and Clatskanie, people are going to be able to need to be able to live up there as well as work up there. And so I think we're going to see a really huge spike in desire for housing in Rainier and Clatskanie. And I know that Commissioner Kaiser last month mentioned in a port meeting that he would like to see the port look into what it would look like if the port got involved in residential properties. And I think as we see Columbia County face a housing crisis, a boom, an extreme rise in land prices, I think that we should look into what it would take to offer more robust and attainable housing to the new workforce that we're going to be accommodating here with all of these additional industrial sites. I would also like to see the port diversify their investments. I think that it's economic best practices to invest in an array of different things so that you maximize your opportunity for return. So not only would I like to see the port continue to focus on marketing its industrial lands, I would also like to see the port continue to expand recreational opportunities so that Columbia County can be a desirable place for people to live, work, and play. I think it's really important that we keep in mind that in 10 or 15 years, when we have grown significantly as a county and a community, and we have all of these new economic and industrial opportunities, that people are still going to want to be able to hike, fish, bike, and kayak here. I also think that expanding our recreational opportunities would be good for the local economies, as it would increase day tourism and people spending time in our downtown areas. So I would really like to see Rainier and Clatskanie become not only a destination for people working in agriculture and refineries, but I would also like to see Rainier and Clatskanie be a destination for people who want to visit waterfalls and go on hikes and who want to spend time in our natural, beautiful rural community. And I would like those people to be able to commute easily, live near the place that they work, and afford housing.
Thank you so much, Sabbath. I'm inspired to hear all three of you really talk about community as being a lot of why you want to do this work. So that's so inspiring, and to so many of us that live here, we want leaders who can stand up for us and be part of the community and inspire our community. So the last 3 minutes is just really open time for you to give a summary or a debrief. You can hit on maybe any of the platform points that you haven't had a chance to that you'd like to, And please make sure in your closing statements to give our viewers an idea of where they can find additional contact information for you. So whether that's a website, an email address, a phone number, make sure that your final pitch is how people can get a hold of you, because we want to make sure to make those connections if there are any viewers that want to contact you after the event. So for the closing statements, we'll go Sabbath first, and then Brian and Robert will close. And it's 3 minutes to give a general summary and include your contact info.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Claire and Natasha, for hosting this forum. It's so important to me that we increase access in any way possible to candidates and government officials. A huge part of my platform is that I don't take corporate money. I don't take money from large businesses or businesses that have any stake in the port, because I think that's a conflict of interest. I have all of my donations, almost with the exception of 4, are well under the $100 range and are donated to me by folks in this community, because I am beholden only to my constituents and stakeholders in the port. So I think it's really important that, elected officials are accountable and transparent to the best of their ability to their constituents. I hope that Columbia County can be a place where people live, work, enjoy recreation, and that the things that we hold dear about this community, the cultural aspects of this community as an agricultural community, as a rural community, as a community supported by resource extraction industries, that we can be true to those roots while we expand, because that expansion is upon us, and it's up to the elected officials here in this county to anticipate that growth and act accordingly so that we can grow in a way that is equitable for our existing community members. I would really encourage people to reach out to me on any platform. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I think accessibility is really important. I answer all of my phone calls and text messages. You can find any of my social medias, Sabbath at Port Commission. And you can also look me up at sabbathforportcommission.com. My phone number is linked to my Facebook page, Sabbath for Port Commission. And I always look forward to hearing from constituents, because I think so often there is a culture of gatekeeping local politics, or a culture of distance between elected officials and their constituents. And if I were elected, I would do my absolute best to always be accountable and transparent, and to be beholden only to the people in this county and my community members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabbath. And Brian, 3 minutes to wrap it up. Anything you want to add, and make sure you include contact information.
Thank you, Claire and Natasha, and the Rainier Chamber of Commerce as a whole, as well as the other candidates. I love hearing the different perspectives and whatnot. It's great that we could all be here to talk to the community and the chamber membership as a whole. Port Commissioner is really a way for me to give back to the community, utilizing my local knowledge, my experience, my skill set. I think I can really provide some valuable input to the commission. Columbia County is definitely primed for growth. I think we've all agreed upon that. And we need a commissioner who understands business, is pragmatic, is invested in the community, and has a passion for public service. And I'm also proud to have support from individuals all over the county, from businesses across all spectrums. I'm proud of their support. And there's those businesses provide a significant amount of our well-paying jobs, and the business community really understands the challenges that we face. They also understand that care needs to be taken in how we approach those challenges, and I'm looking forward to continuing the partnerships and relationships I already have with many of these businesses, as well as our constituents, to really for the betterment of our communities. As your next Port Commissioner, I will focus on elevating the livability of our local communities by bringing more local living wage jobs with all the benefits that brings to our citizens, our communities, and our public services, as well as improving our recreational opportunities so that we can access our rivers, lakes, forests more easily and use them more often. One of the most important and basic rights in our country is the right to vote. And I urge you all to not underestimate that right. Ballots are going to be in your mailboxes either today or tomorrow. And I encourage you to read about the candidates, read about the measures, and vote by May 18th. And if you have any questions for me, my website's fawcettforport.com. Facebook is Fawcett for Port. You can get all my contact information there. And you can email me, fawcettforport@gmail.com. Pretty easy to get a hold of. So thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you, Brian. And Robert, 3 minutes for your closing thoughts, comments, and how can folks get a hold of you if they would like to?
First of all, they can get a hold of me on Facebook. I have a Robert Kaiser for Port Commission page, and then there's a plain old Robert Kaiser page with my fishing adventures. Either one of those is fine. Reach out to me, message me. We'll get together and have lunch. I'll talk with you. I have learned the more folks you talk with, the more good ideas you get. I've enjoyed serving on the commission. I enjoy the commission we have now. The commissioners that I work with presently are not of one mind. They're a pretty diverse thinking group, and that's good. It makes for a healthy commission. We have great discussions. My test for what I vote for is if I think it will benefit Columbia County citizens, and that means, and businesses, and that means businesses that are already here. And a good example of that may be, and folks will be surprised, but when we had a proposal to do a coal exporting facility at Port Westward, which caused a lot of commotion and interest, we as a commission said to the coal folks, here's our issues. There's rail issues that need to be solved in the communities. We need to know if it can be environmentally sound and clean, and you need to demonstrate that to us. The developer, a Fortune 500 company, said we can do that. We will have 5 happy mayors was the test. And after a year, I sat down with each of the mayors, and there weren't 5 happy mayors. And I called the company and explained to them I would be the tie-breaking vote not to allow them to proceed further, because although their project would have brought a lot of good paying jobs, and they had shown me, I've gone to their facilities and seen that it could be done cleanly, the rail impact of that many trains had not been addressed, and they failed to take care of it. So I didn't vote for it, and it went away. And that will be my test. I like industry. I like the high paying jobs with a good tax base, but they have to show that they can be a good partner, be clean, and not disrupt our life in this county. I'm very proud of serving on the commission. I think we have a great commission and a great port staff. And I look forward to serving another 4 years if you'll have me. I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much to each of you for giving us an hour of your life and sharing why you're passionate about these issues, sharing with the Rainier Chamber membership and the public some additional information. So hopefully everyone learned something about what the Port of Columbia County does. I know that every time I listen to a candidate forum for all different elected offices, I learn a little bit more about how local government functions and how I can contribute or talk to or give back in a different way to my community. So I'm sure our audience totally got that today from each of you, and thank you so much. For the audience, thank you so much for being here. There are a couple ways you can follow up. Of course, you have the contact information for these 3 candidates. This will be saved to Facebook, so you should be able to watch this after we're done to Facebook today. And in addition, we've asked each of the candidates to provide a short video to put on the Rainier Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. So that opportunity has been provided. So go ahead and check out the Rainier Chamber of Commerce YouTube for additional video from each of these candidates as they've submitted them. Thank you each so much. Thank you to the audience. I think the last thing from the Rainier Chamber of Commerce is just that reminder to vote. I heard Brian say that we might have ballots. I don't have mine yet in my inbox, but perhaps they're dropping any day now. And May 18th is our election day for this special election. It's so important for you to vote, not only for these candidates and these positions that we're talking about tonight, but learning more about all of the candidates and all of the things on our special ballot. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.